The Perennial Plant Association is a group that I admire quite a bit. It's made up of horticulturists, industry professionals, educators, and garden writers all across the United States. Well, each year they get together and they select a plant that they designate as the Perennial Plant of the Year. And what's neat is that a lot of those plants that have been selected throughout the years are good performers here in Oklahoma. Things like Russian sage, moonbeam coreopsis, Magnus purple coneflower, those are all perennials that have been past perennial plants of the year, and those are great performers in our Oklahoma gardens. Well, the 2005 Perennial Plant of the Year is no exception. The plant that has been selected is the Lenten rose, or the hellebore, like we like to call them here at Oklahoma Gardening. We've had our hellebores featured on our program in the past, but just wanted to show them to you again since it is the 2005 Perennial Plant of the Year. And we put these plants in our garden about 5 years ago, and the clump has gotten larger and it's really quite impressive now. They do flower early in the year. Ours begin flowering in mid to late February, and the flowers actually last for several months. It's nothing to get about 3 months of bloom time out of the hellebore. Now, the flowers will begin to fade toward the end of that time, but you still have color out in the garden. Hellebores are great plants for the shade. They will tolerate more shade than any other flowering perennial, so they're great for our shaded gardens. The foliage of hellebores is tough and leathery. It's evergreen on most winters, although we do get a little bit of browning, but deer will not eat the foliage of the hellebore, so it's a great deer-proof plant as well. If you think the hellebores look a little bit like peonies, that's because they are in the same family, the ranunculus family. Same family as columbine and clematis. Great family of plants that a lot of them do well in Oklahoma. And like peonies, hellebores are going to be long-lived in the garden. Great plant, the hellebore or Lenten rose, the 2005 Perennial Plant of the Year. Well, I've got another interesting hellebore I want to show you in another part of our garden. I mentioned earlier that the hellebores can have some browning of the foliage during the wintertime. I've got a leaf here that is showing some browning of the foliage that due to the cold winter, and this is easy to tidy up in the garden. You just pull out your pruners and trim away those old leaf stalks, and those are quickly replaced by the flowering stems and all of that new foliage. Well, right down here is a different type of hellebore. This is a Corsican hellebore, and it's one with variegated foliage. Its foliage is almost white. It's sort of a green and white splashed sort of effect on this plant. You can see that the flowers aren't quite as attractive as some of the Oriental hybrid hellebores. Instead of pink, purple, or white or something like that, they're sort of this off green color, but really this plant is grown for its foliage. Now, you may want, if you have this plant in your garden, you may want to leave those green flowers and enjoy the green and brown together, but I'm actually going to clean this plant up to make room for that new foliage. So I'm just going to clip away flowers, old leaf stalks, and everything here. Just get rid of that. Make room for all that neat new foliage that is almost white. A unique color for the garden. And you can see those new leaves here. We've got some tree leaves that have kind of blown in, but those are fine. They help protect the plant during the winter. But look at that color of the foliage. This is what we have in the garden most of the season. Very attractive, very unique, that green and white splash color to the foliage. This cultivar is one known as Janet Starnes. Janet Starnes, the variegated Corsican hellebore.